I just want a second to say that I feel very lucky to be on the podcast with Steve.
Hey.
And Sundie.
I know.
This is big.
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Your whole long life.
This is the RootsUp podcast with the Greenhouse Coaching Team, where entrepreneurial leaders can explore how to grow the lives they want, starting at the roots.
Well, this is the RootsUp podcast.
Yeah.
Fresh new name, fresh new face. All of us got fresh new faces. And
Do we?
Mine's pretty old.
And so I just thought it'd be fun to kind of get back into the flow because we've had a few months of doing some retakes and some like sharing some of the product videos we've been putting out there and just bring it back with a conversation about like where we've been and what we've been up to. But then moving forward, have a fun new format with like group discussion and bringing in some guests into the conversations. I think what we were talking about, and Joe, you might say this better than me, but what people tend to love about Greenhouse and what we do is those kind of coffee shop conversations. And I think for a long time we've been trying to think, how can we invite people into that vibe and have that same idea on the podcast? So that's what we're doing. Is that a good way of saying it?
I think that's a great way of saying it.
Yep.
Okay.
In the past, we would do more of like a teaching format, which is helpful in an area. But what we've done is just move that to YouTube. So there's topics on there. And if you want to learn how to get something done, you go there. And this is just the conversation.
So if you want to learn something,
If you want to learn,
don't keep listening.
you're probably not going to get anything.
You will not learn here.
Yeah, hit
Because
pause
we're
right
just going to
now.
ask questions about things.
Yeah.
We're just going to ponder.
No, I always learn something when I'm having chats with these two. So
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my primary mode of.
Well, Chris,
Yeah.
you came
Continued
on
learning.
as a guest, but
It's true.
people actually don't know the full you yet. And you've been behind the scenes with the podcast, but now you get to come.
Yeah, I'm
in the
typically a
spotlight.
behind the scenes guy, but I wouldn't pass up the
Not
opportunity.
today.
Not today. But yeah, we've been working on a lot of fun brand strategy, redoing some of our thinking and some of how we present ourselves in the market. And that work's been really fun. And just like, evolving some of the formats like the podcast and some of the things we do and the products that we're putting out to help folks. And it's been we were joking earlier that it feels like it's been a couple of years that we've been working on it.
Yeah.
But really it's been less than a year and there's been so much fun stuff that's been happening.
I was listening
It's
to
incredible.
this. Maybe you heard it too, Sundie. I was listening to a podcast and these were famous actors and they were talking about, I think it was on Armchair. They were talking for a while about how hard it is, how long it takes to find your voice. Did you hear that episode?
No. Maybe.
Oh
Keep
my
going.
gosh, it was so good. All right,
Keep going.
I'm
Because
gonna
I
send it
listen to
you
almost
today.
every episode too.
Well, they talked on and on about how hard it is to find your voice and how long it takes. And these are people who are like, really? Like you guys, you're major A-lister,
Right.
celebrities. And they said, well, that's the irony of it. It seems like you just day one have your voice because it's your voice. Like, no, it actually takes a really long time because as soon as you turn a camera on or put a mic in front of you or like get on a stage, you lose yourself and you start trying to be something else and put it. I mean, you know this, you spoke on stages for years and still do. It's like, I have been, I guess, continually surprised how hard it is to find my voice with the podcast. And I feel like even as a company, we've struggled with that. How do we just, all we want to do is let people experience what we do every day through the podcast. And it's super hard.
Yeah.
And it's taking like years to figure it out.
It is super challenging.
It's also challenging to
See,
talk.
Literally talking is difficult.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, first your voice should sound good. That would be a great first step to find your voice, right?
Yeah. But to your point though, once it clicks in, it feels like it was there the whole time.
Isn't that crazy?
Right? Because parts of it are, right? Because you're always yourself.
Yeah.
But when it all kind of starts to settle in together, the ideal is that it feels like it was like that the whole time.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this around this topic. I was just in Florida speaking. I did a keynote for a group of medical people who were having a really difficult subject. Actually, they needed to sign very sick people up for a clinical trial. And so they wanted me to come and help them work with how do you best connect with an individual one-on-one instead of getting right to the like,
kind of the messaging of it.
yeah, no, the connection of it, because the goal is to get people to sign up. But a lot of them are doing things like starting with, let me tell you all of the things that could go wrong. You know, like, or
All right,
let me
this
show you
sounds
all the
great.
paperwork first.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no. So it was so interesting. So, but I broke it down into 3 sections, but I swear it's connected to what you were just saying. But one of my first points was that it's a mindset of letting go of the outcome, that you have your best conversations when you let go of the outcome. And it's so hard because they're thinking, I want this person to sign up. I want this person to sign up. But I'm like, actually, if you let go of the outcome, you end up having a much more natural conversation.
That's right. Because you told me one of the people was like, no, we have to explain the legalities to them right away and they were really worried about
that
if we don't explain that, then then we'll be, we'll have liabilities.
Yeah.
But you're talking to humans.
Right. And you have to get there. But first
And
find out who the human is.
Yeah.
And what's important to them. What are their values? What are their belief systems? What are their stories that you can connect to? But to your point, even when you're trying to find your voice on a podcast or on a stage, just even letting go of the outcome there of whatever the outcome in your head is on a podcast makes me just go, I'm just having a conversation here.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I've been thinking about that lately, even just with meetings and just internally on the team. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I could show up so much better if I just, I guess it's not the outcomes, but like release the control in general.
Yeah, control's a good word. Because it doesn't mean we don't prepare. It doesn't mean that we don't have things that we have to cover. But if I'm trying to prove something to you, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Versus just, well, what do you think?
Yeah. And I don't know, there's something about that in general, even just in life of like, well, I can just, instead of needing to convince you of something, this is what I was thinking about because I had a situation with a friend and they were trying to convince me and it made the whole thing feel icky. And like, then I'm acting out of a reaction to feeling sold to, And
Yes.
it got me thinking afterwards, like, what if I just show up and say, all right, here's the options, like A and B. And let you make your decision and not need to try and convince you of a thing. I would show up so much better that way because of what you're saying.
Yeah, he knows. He's been on stage with me too, that I think one of my greatest strengths is that I'm totally comfortable to make mistakes in front of large groups of people. And when you allow yourself also the freedom to make mistakes, you find that you're just this really natural speaker.
Oh, yes.
It's
Chris,
like,
I don't know if you've heard this. Have you heard this our story on this?
I don't think so.
So we spoke at this conference. It was for a big company, but like their internal conference. And it's at this amazing little bougie like spa resort place in Arizona. And so it was really fun. Like we got to hang out, go around the lazy river for a while with drinks in hand.
That's my favorite thing.
And
Literally,
Joe
that's
came
my favorite
too.
thing.
Joe
it
was
was a
with us.
blast.
Joe was
Yeah.
Joe got to go.
Joe
Yeah,
got to
I know.
go.
Man, I joined this group
Sorry,
too.
man.
I know, right?
Now we just work
That's
hard.
Still
literally-
like one of my favorite trips. It was so
Literally, it's
fun.
my favorite thing, the lazy river. But
Oh, and
we'll
especially
cover that in a
because
different
everyone
podcast.
was in the conference sessions while we floated on the lazy river.
Which made
And
it so much better.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the people working there just attended to our every need. They're like, while we float by, they're like, do you need another gin
Another
and
drink,
tonic,
please.
sir?
Oh gosh.
And then,
yes.
So we go
dream.
in to do our talk, and yeah, it's Sundie and I both on stage, and we get up there, and
It's a huge room too.
a
Sound guy's
huge
way
room.
in the back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So very big room, and we start, and she goes, "Wait a minute, I don't have my clicker."
Right when we start in the microphone.
And so instead of like freaking out and trying to make it polished, she just is like,
I'll be right back.
I'm just gonna go get it. Yeah,
I
and
said, I'll be right back. Steve, say something.
yeah. She
what
gets
happened.
down off stage, runs to the back, gets the clicker. I'm just trying to make up stuff
Do
to
you
fill
like
the
tell
gap.
like jokes or something? It's like you're going to
Everyone's
stand-up
laughing.
comedian
Yeah.
mode.
So fast forward to later after the conference that day, we're like in the mingling lobby area, and there's like throngs of people crowding around Sundie to like basically like get her autograph. And I'm standing over here with no one wants to talk to me. And several people told her like, my favorite moment was when you did the clicker.
when you forgot the clicker and
Yeah.
you just went and got it.
Well, it's
They
like
were like,
you're-
I knew I liked you. It
Yeah,
was
you're like a human person that might
yes,
have.
it was so interesting
didn't
how
have a
many
clicker.
people were like, the minute you said you forgot the clicker, I was like,
Not the amazing bullet points or
Yeah.
the
Or didn't you see that filler work that Steve was doing
Yeah,
up
I
there?
know.
while she
Nobody
was
appreciated
doing
it.
the
Improv.
Nobody
little
appreciated it.
cred? No,
I heard at least a chuckle in the crowd.
no love. Yeah.
I'm surprised by 0% of that story, but that's
Yeah.
amazing.
But it's interesting what you're
Yeah.
saying about the finding your voice thing, because that's how I feel about the greenhouse brand work you were mentioning.
Yeah.
It felt like we finally clicked in and found our voice as a group, a company, what we're trying to do, our posture in that, like how we do it,
Yeah.
that people seem to like and that we enjoy. It felt good.
I'm laughing because, wait. So what year, 2020, did I join?
Yeah.
It's right before. Okay. So it feels like, I feel like you remember when we were trying to figure out brand stuff. He put another piece of paper in front of me. He'd be like, write your thoughts about what greenhouse is. Please. Again, what do we serve? What do we do? And I was like, I mean, I can tell you how many times we did brand work together. And he'd be like, remember I told you I had a dream that Steve was saying, write more.
Yeah.
I had a dream.
In your
this is-
dreams, that's not good. That's not good.
I can't argue against
That's not
it.
good.
Oh, so
I mean,
funny.
this is why I'd always get frustrated when we'd work with a new brand person. They'd be like, "Let me teach you. Brand is first about who's your audience." And I'm like, "I know. I just don't know who the audience is."
Can we skip forward a little
Can we
bit?
skip
Oh,
forward?
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
So
think
it's beautiful now. Like it feels very clear.
Yeah, and I think one of the big challenges is that Greenhouse does a lot of different things
Yeah.
to help people grow the life they want.
Yeah.
Wow.
How good does that sound?
phrase.
Did a boom.
No, but seriously though,
Yeah.
it's like, so how do you tell a cohesive story around like the one story
Yeah.
about how like everyone who comes to this team, Steve, who started the business, actually really cares about people growing, getting unstuck,
Yeah.
moving towards what they want in life.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like the 18 things that we do to help you do that. And you get to choose your own adventure a little bit with us. But to figure out what that overarching story is, it was clearly a challenge, right?
Oh yeah, I remember the moment I'd been seeing this chiropractor / physical therapist for months, and every time, because he would ask me about my work, we would talk about what I do and what Greenhouse does over and over and over, and it was, I don't know, probably the 10th. Do you remember this? It was like the 10th session, and he brought up something about his business. He's like, "Yeah, I really need some help, kind of getting some things structured and thinking through some business problems." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, we could help with that." And he's like, "Oh, but I thought you guys do like leadership and life coaching." And I was like, "Oh no, oh no, business coaching is like one of our main things."
But he didn't know it. Yeah. The same thing's happened to me before where someone literally has been talking to me and saying, I really need to hire someone too. And it's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how
did you miss
I
this?
know.
And you're not mad at them. You're almost more mad at yourself. Like, how am I missing this?
It means you're just not being clear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It is similar to speaking, actually, quite a bit.
Yeah.
The whole message, crafting the message.
Yeah, because I always tell people like, what do you want them to walk away doing or think differently? And then what are the 3 things they need to know to get there is how I kind of generally craft. It's easier said than done though.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think a small shout out to the guys at Proper in Atlanta. We worked with them last year. They did a great job partnering with us to really like get into the place of like where we needed the help to kind of bring it all together. So that was very fruitful work. And I think just like as a team, we worked through some stuff.
Oh my gosh.
We worked through some stuff, but
And they came on the podcast. I think.
I was going to
several.
say it was like a year ago,
Oh, yeah.
but it was a few episodes ago.
Was it actually?
I mean,
yeah.
I think it was June, so not
okay.
quite a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about this last year, because we were working on all that other stuff,
Yeah.
we've done not a lot of actual new episodes in a
Oh
while,
my
which is
gosh.
fun. It's because like Sundie,
Yeah.
in the scheme of podcast time,
Yeah.
you almost a few episodes ago like started stepping back to
Yes.
do other stuff. So
I
how's
did.
that been?
doing others.
Other stuff. I don't even know what the others. I drove past your house the
Please
other day.
do
I was
tell.
like,
Like, what's
I
she
was like,
doing
I
in
wonder
there?
how Sundie's doing.
Yeah,
But
I
then I
know.
didn't see the car, but you just got a new car, right?
I did.
Because I was like, where's the red roof? And I couldn't find the red roof.
Yeah.
It's really funny, by the way, on the car thing. And then I promise I'll answer the question. Squirrel moment.
The
I had
car
little-
is a representation
Yeah.
of,
Yeah,
I
where
know.
this is the
of
last
the
year.
life.
I had a Kia Soul, and it was red top, white bottom with a little black stripe.
Nice.
It was the sports line. I loved it. It was so cute. But it's funny how I felt so good in it. And when my husband would borrow it, he felt like a clown.
Oh, interesting.
He felt like it was a clown car. And I was
Yeah.
like, you feel like a clown? He's like, I totally feel like, so totally.
Yeah.
Then he kind of ruined it for me. Then I started to feel a little bit like a clown. I was like, oh no.
yeah.
So, I used to be full time, at Greenhouse for many, many years, many
Millennia.
Many years.
And really talk about like crafting the life that you want. I really wanted to just have more life. And I felt very like I was working a lot.
You were.
I was. And I wanted to slow down just a little bit. So it was very strategic. But I also wanted to shift into this one particular franchise that I bought, which was Insights Discovery. It was a personality assessment.
Nice.
And it's probably because my passion is communication. And it was an assessment around like, how do you change the way you communicate relative to what that person needs? So I fell in love with this particular assessment, and I just decided I wanted to really grow it. So what I've been doing, Joe, is growing Insights Discovery.
Growing the life I want through
Growing-
Insights
She's just been
Yeah.
10xing businesses while you're
Yeah,
over
what
here
have I done this
slacking.
last year?
Yeah. I would say if I was to give an example of what I'm trying to market specifically, and it's worked, I have two particular groups now that have done it, is when a company says, well, everybody's always looking for like what their culture is, right? And it feels so complicated, but it's actually quite easy. It means like, what do we do that we talk about when we get home? Like what makes us unique about the place that we work? And so I've had two companies now where they buy the package where once you're hired, because you can't do a personality assessment before you're hired. It's actually illegal. But
I didn't know
you
that.
can after.
Yeah.
So I have companies now who it's part of your onboarding process that once you're hired, you take this assessment, then you have a session with me where we unpack it. And what people tell me they love about it is that they have a common language with each other now at work because they're like, first of all, they're like, have you taken your insights yet?
Yeah.
And that's fun. And then some people say, oh, I'm very red or I'm very blue. And now we have this common conversation. And that's what I've been enjoying so much.
Yes. Can I say one quick thing on
Yeah.
that? I feel the need to say this because I know some of our listeners have come from a company culture where that was overdone.
Yes,
and they
for
think
sure.
that's negative. And what we've seen now that we've worked with companies of different sizes, there's so many companies that don't have any of that
Right, nothing.
personality assessment, leadership development, shared
Yeah.
language. And so some of it is actually a huge help.
Yeah.
But if you've been from a culture where it was overdone, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible. And
Right.
that just causes issues.
Yes.
But most companies, statistically, most companies don't have any of it.
Yeah, and I think about not overdoing it too,
Yeah,
But I also think it's really important about the setup because nobody wants to be put in a box,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
that's a good point.
specific personality types. They're like, don't tell me who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it's important.
Yeah.
Right. So, and myself a little. I have a little bit of a don't tell me who I am.
Yeah.
But it's a freedom. It's a place of like, you tell me what you think you got out of this
Yeah.
particular. And then also, how do we better communicate with one another now that we know this about each other? So that's what I've been spending a lot of my time
That's cool.
doing.
My personal approach to that is you could tell me all day what box I'm in. I'm just not going to listen to you. That's more of my thing.
Yes.
I'll let you go ahead.
You might
but-
smile and nod at me.
Yeah. And a phrase I really like, I borrow from one of my teachers on the Enneagram, which is another
Yeah.
thing, is that these things are a thing.
Yeah.
And then when we get turned into the thing,
Yeah.
then that's when you get like
right.
the negative,
Yeah.
kind of the negative side of
Good
it.
point.
Yeah.
And then it's like, if that is like the only kind of like facet of culture driving in your
Yeah.
company, then it is going to become the
That's
thing.
problematic.
Yeah.
And it is going to wear out and people are going to see that that's it. Right.
Yep.
I do think it's a thing that's very, very important
Yeah.
to culture and creating one that you want.
Well, yeah. Yeah, because humans are way more complex than one little box on a
Yeah.
personality assessment.
Yeah.
It's just a way to, but there are themes and trends
Yeah.
within types of people. And so categorizing it helps us to understand people better.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking to. Well, Gabe will join us on our next episode. We can introduce people to him. But he's been on a kick lately about how often people use personality typing as excuses for their behavior that needs to shift, which is also a great point.
Oh, it's
and we were
such
having a
good
debate
point.
because I was coming from the side of, yes, I agree with that, but it also is hugely helpful to understand each other so we don't just judge and think like you're crazy, you're terrible. Because so often in interactions, and you notice it with people, like people in my life who have never done personality stuff. I notice how they think that like a disagreement is the other person's wrong and bad, when actually they're just viewing something through a different lens, because of how they're wired differently.
Well, just the incredible ease that we think that everyone sees every situation or conflict or anything the exact same way that we do or they should is really interesting. Like from a human psychology point of view.
Oh, for sure. One of my favorite things that I've learned through this process is the question of perception. How is our perception in life developed? And people answer it many ways. You know, they say, oh, it was like my parents or, you know, my childhood. It absolutely was. But like, go even deeper. Like, it was the street you lived on. It was the neighbor you had. It was the conversation with that lady in the grocery store once, or that teacher who said this. Your entire life is a series of things that have developed your perception. So now put all those people in the same room together and say, get work done. And everybody is bringing such a different perception story. The teacher said, my parents said, and they're trying to work, but they have so many narratives that are different. No one's is the same.
Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. It is endlessly fascinating. And I do think out of all the cultural shift of like, we love to overanalyze ourselves now, just culturally. I do think the best part about that is thinking more deeply about the nuances you're saying, Sundie.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it the other day where someone misheard something I said, or I said it in a way that he translated it completely different than what I meant.
Okay.
It turned into an argument. We realized an hour later, he said something. I was like, oh no, that's not what I meant at all. And he's like, oh. And so I explained what I did mean, and he's like, that's not what I heard at all.
Oh, wow.
It's like, well, that could have been these are the moments that end a relationship.
Yeah.
That friendship could have been broken because of that conversation. And little do we know, we weren't disagreeing. We just heard the same thing two different ways. That happens probably countless times in a day.
So many times.
But yeah, to your point about people working together in a team,
it's hard.
It's exponential.
Yeah. So, and that's, by the way, not to say that I have left Greenhouse. I still do work for Greenhouse too. I just do it part-time and I do this. And you want to know what else I've been doing in my time, Joe Wise?
I do.
For the very
From my
first,
view,
also,
she's like kind of looking out of the corner, right? You're lurking behind.
Well,
Joe.
I don't think there's a camera that shows this. I'm actually sitting behind her to the corner. So she really does have to look over her shoulder to see me, which makes this awesome.
It does. I have to go like that.
I think she's enjoying the ability to do the shoulder look.
I really am. I'm liking that move very much.
Yeah, it has a certain spice to it.
Yeah. I have been, health has been, I turned 50 almost 3 years ago now. And of course, just things shift in your mind. And you're like, I really need to, and I've always been a healthy person in general. I've always worked, well, I would say the last 6 years, I really just let it drop. And so part of pulling back was really taking care of myself. And so I'm working with a trainer now for the first time, once a week. And then she tells me what to do 3 other times. And I feel stronger and better. I'm in month 2. And I'm just learning about what strong and taking care of myself looks like. And I never felt like I had the time. I'm sure I did, but I'm not a 5 a.m. girl.
Yeah.
Me either. Yeah.
So I feel like those have been 2 great priorities that have taken place in my life that I'm happy about.
Yeah,
I like my calendar.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I didn't know how you felt about that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, everything that you said you wanted to do when you were stepping back seems like is happening from that, which is always cool.
Yeah. Adam said to me, Adam's my husband, he said, Sundie, you're very good at noticing, observing what's not working and doing something about it. that's not always an easy thing. A lot of times we just notice what's not working and then we don't do anything about it. It took me a little time to get there, but I noticed it for a while and then I was like, I need to adjust.
Yeah. That's cool. Joe, what have you been up to? People like have heard your voice here and there, but now you're not fully in. You're still over in the corner.
Literally over Sundie's
Maybe next
shoulder.
time. I don't know.
Is there a
maybe
camera
next
on
time.
you?
There is
Yeah.
a camera
All
on me.
right.
It's just a separate one. Been doing a lot of the work with Greenhouse, which has been fun. All the brand stuff that you were talking about, Chris, been working on that. I think I mentioned it earlier in this episode. We are building up a YouTube channel, which has been really fun to be focusing more on how to solve problems for people and give them like a framework that helps them quickly. So doing
You've
that.
been wanting to do more of that for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. And
Made
then-
for a busy fall though.
Made for a busy fall. You were saying, I think yesterday, it's kind of crazy all the stuff that we did this fall, which is always a fun feeling looking back. You're like, yeah, we got some good work done.
Yeah.
And then on my business side of things, just focusing in on creating content like that, which is podcasting, video work, and then content strategy. So between that work and then the work with Greenhouse that we've been doing, it's been a good year.
What is your favorite skill that you do of all the skills you do in that creative space?
I like the day of filming, especially when I know what the problem that we're trying to solve for and feel like there's the ability to influence that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing of trying to,
Cool.
I mean, it's kind of like coaching.
Yeah.
Like in the moment, how do
In
I
the moment.
make like see this vision? And then it's always fun to me when I can tell the person on the other side of the camera maybe feels like a little bit lost or like they can't see the full picture yet, but then they just trust the process.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that you're feeling all the bad takes, all the things that you're not sure about, but I'm seeing how all of this is putting together and will be like finalized afterwards. And it's always just really fun when they trust that. And then later you're able to put that together and then they see it and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
very similar to the public speaking thing,
yeah.
where like everyone who sits down for doing anything on video or anything that's recorded,
Yeah.
and you think it's a public speaking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I know you're good at, Joe, is like you have to build that rapport,
Yeah.
sometimes instantly, and put people at ease, just so that
Yeah.
that wall can come down a little bit.
I know
Yeah.
it's funny. I always tell people that videos, podcasts, that kind of stuff is like the only time in life that you actually get to take words back. But it feels so intense when you've got like the lights and the cameras. And it's so you like make more pressure.
Yeah,
like,
it feels
you
the
can,
opposite.
Yeah, you can say
Yeah.
something and then it's gone forever. Whereas obviously that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
Well, thanks.
yeah, that's what's been happening with me.
Yeah. How about you, Steve? Come on. What have you
Come
been
on.
up to? What would you summarize you've been up to?
Oh gosh.
I mean, I know a lot here, right?
a lot here.
Just a couple things.
How would I summarize it? I mean, I think for me, this is if I'm kind of picturing the last 6 months as a time frame, I guess.
Sure.
I've been in a season of shifting, like getting a new job is maybe the way to say it. And it's something that comes up a lot with leaders. As you know, when you coach leaders, this is a very common topic, but then sometimes it feels lonely because other people in your life don't resonate with it as much. And all I mean by new job is as the company grows that you're building, you have to change your role. You have to learn new skills. You have to make changes in how you show up. You have to shift mindsets. And it's hard is what I'm learning. This last 6 months was the biggest shift I've had yet and it's really common for businesses at our inflection point. When you get to this size is usually when the point leader, the founder, has to shift from being involved in a lot and doing a lot of the stuff to delegating, handing off, letting others own things, and not having your hands in everything. You have to replicate yourself. And that is so hard. I've talked to a number of people who were mentioning a friend or a business they worked with for where the person didn't make that shift. Either they didn't want to or they couldn't. Either way, it's just like then the business is gonna stop its growth there because you can only grow as much as the point leader is. And so I am wanting to grow past that point and wow, is it challenging. just in 1,000 different ways, but so good. I mean, it's kind of like what we love about coaching. It's a good hard, you know, where every day I wake up feeling energized that, oh, this is good. I'm going to new heights. I'm learning new things. I'm improving. I'm helping, you know, grow this thing. And, but it just, I don't know. In some ways it feels like a death by a million little cuts of all of these things that you have to shift and change. Very challenging, but yeah, it's felt very fulfilling. And what we talked about with the brand, I'm just more confident than ever in like that we're putting forward the thing that I want to put forward.
What a good feeling.
Yeah, it has been. It's very tiring. Every night I can't wait to get in my bed and watch my shows. I don't even watch in the living room. It's too exposing. I need to be like hidden in my bed.
Yeah. Close to sleep.
I had a real question for you, but now I just want to ask about Severance.
Have
you been? Because I know you were big on the first season, Sundie. Have you been watching the second one?
Yes. Every Friday we're so excited
such a good
for
show.
the next thing. And we were actually talking about that, you know, you can binge watch something, right? But with these new ones, they'll do this thing where they let it go every week. And Adam and I were talking about how much fun it is. How some people hate it. I love it. It reminds me of growing up, of course, because you waited till next Thursday to see it. You anticipated it. And you also, you avoid the binge thing. Like you just stop. I've been really enjoying that with two particular shows, but
the problem is every show's doing it though. So I love it for one show.
Every show is not doing it.
I feel like
the good ones are.
Even
I feel like it's
like
the good
Amazon
ones.
Prime,
Apple
Max,
TV does it.
Apple TV, Max, and Prime are all doing it.
You're right.
for
Max
shows.
does it too. You're right.
And
But
Prime.
don't you feel like it's the
guess
it's
Prime
the
kinda.
good shows? Like nobody's going to do it with a bad show. So to me, it's a little bit of an
That's-
indication of you're going to want to watch
That's
this.
probably fair. I think my personality would love it if there was one show that I'm watching that is that, and then I tell them which one to come out week by week, and then all the other ones are released
Like
at
Monday,
once.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
Wednesday.
because when you've got like
Hey,
a
maybe that's
calendar,
coming,
I don't want like my Tuesday show, my
Hyper-personalization.
Thursday
Yeah,
one.
you can personalize which day of the week it comes out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. This is a good
Yeah.
product idea.
Yeah.
Big brains here.
Yeah, the other one I've been doing is Surface, which is a once per week drop, but it is
Me
worth
too.
the wait. But now, like yesterday, I was waiting on Surface and Severance. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
That's what I'm saying. There's
Man,
3 shows.
Waiting.
That's a low point.
Okay, I have to throw one more out there. I'm watching Paradise. Anybody?
No. What's it on?
Hulu.
Okay.
Really, really great.
Okay.
Okay, so Tag, you're it. I mean, you talked a little bit about what you were focusing on, but you were that's only because you were introducing. But what do you feel like you're spending?
Wow.
What have you been doing in the last 6 months?
Yeah, well, since the last time I was on the podcast.
I know. Right.
Actually, that was, I think, my first podcast in front of the mic when I sat down to talk to Steve last year. And at that moment, we talked about being a generalist and networking. Because I had recently left Capital One.
Yeah.
Do we bleep that out?
No.
Okay. I don't know if we had named specific companies. I left Capital One and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And my role at that company was like pretty niched. And I was kind of looking for like the copy paste version of that job.
Yeah.
And was just having a hard time figuring it out. Right. So we were talking about that. And then a little bit later on, you know, like opportunity to support the things that Greenhouse wanted to do came around, and some other freelance work came around. So I've been playing a lot of fractional roles with some folks. And like the great thing is like it's a bunch of old connections and old friends that I'm working with, and they just happen to need like some things that I know how to do.
Yeah.
And so I've worked for myself before. I had a business before I went corporate. Steve tricked me into doing, but really enjoyed that corporate chapter. I joke about it a lot, but, and so it's not totally new to me to be doing it, but, I think it definitely, as 10 years older and having more experience and, more connections, obviously it's been a wild ride, but also getting to like one thing about my personality is like I like to work on a bunch of different things. Yeah. It really reinforces the generalist thing. Some might call it a dilemma. Some might call it a skill.
Yeah.
But I get to do work in brand and marketing, brand strategy and communications, and sort of like marketing technology. And I like all those things. And to do a little bit of it throughout the week is really fun and fun for my brain space. It can be hard to like kind of switch in any given day, but
just like I asked Joe though, do you have a particular one that really lights you up?
Well, I think
particular skill.
Yeah, I think, because I've been working through my version of the generalist thing, and we hear like, oh, I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
But I've really boiling it down to like, okay, we have even something that's going well, kind of like you were saying earlier. It's like you see a problem, and you think about all these different ways to fix it, and you go and do it. Professionally, that's something that I really like to do. And like deciding like where you apply that or where you kind of get into the weeds of that is always a challenge. But I think what it is sort of like, okay, like we have a business that has a pretty wide offering, but truly like one overarching big mission. Like, okay, what are we going to do to kind of like clear that up? Like, so that's the thing that like gets me out of bed in the morning, and like definitely like on the technology side, like there's so much out there that you could do, but like what's the right tech stack? What's the right platforming that you need to make your business work, and how to just get into those very interesting problems to figure out. And then fortunately I do have like a wide like breadth of experience to try to apply to those problems. So I'd say that's the thing that I like doing the most. So
it's good to know that about yourself.
I think I'm just getting there.
Yeah.
Because I think my career so far has been a lot of different chapters of gaining these skills, right? As a younger professional person. And then of course, working for myself, that was a 10-year kind of chapter. I always tell people it was generalist by nature, because it's sort of like at that point I would do anything for money, right? As someone in that creative space or me kind of that marketing space before, it was like, oh, well, we were doing a lot with like websites and technology, but it's like, oh, well, we need content for our websites. So, and that's like how I shifted into a lot of video and content, and then social media like went gangbusters. Like, okay, well, how are we thinking about content for that? So it's just like, it's just, you'll get into a lot of different things, especially as like someone who's trying to grow a business doing it. Right. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. But it's scary, a little freelancing sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it suits me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, conversations in my household, with my wife, because it obviously impacts our whole family, but, but I really do like it. Risks aside there, but
yeah, Steve, you're a lot like that too. I used to, when I would feel there were stressful seasons, I would just feel like you weren't feeling that stress. You just don't, you're just like, it's a season. It's just another season.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, because you got my wheels turning about this, like what we've been learning and doing lately. And one of the things, so we'll introduce Gabe next episode, but we brought on a COO.
Yeah.
I've been needing this forever. And it's very eye-opening in very painful ways to have someone that you're letting into all the thoughts and all the things.
Yeah.
And then like seeing yourself more clearly. Because one of the things I've learned about myself through the process, I've always felt very misunderstood in a certain area of my life, being that I'm like a vision person. Because it is actually, it's less than 3% of the population is that wiring. And so you feel misunderstood, because like, even if you try to explain it, people don't get it. And then you're just like, never mind, I'll move on. But this is someone who's also in that 3%. And so we talk about it, and I'm realizing as we talk about it that the reason I don't like, yeah, because Ashley will say the same thing about me, like, oh, you don't get stressed about these things. It's like, it's not that I don't experience stress. It's that I live in the 10 years from now space in my head. So like in this given moment, yes, I'm having this conversation. Yes, I'm like aware of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I experience life in like, it's not that I'm thinking 10 years ahead. It's that I live in 10 years ahead.
You do.
I don't even know how to explain it yet, but that's the best I can do. And so then the current circumstances aren't what I'm stressed about. I'm stressed about that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of stress. So it's actually like, it's been helpful and instructive in like my marriage, for example, as I become more aware of that dynamic in myself, I'm also becoming more aware of and empathetic of Ashley's, like she's a very in this moment stress person.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding that about her more as I understand myself more. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's such an interesting, to your point about different personalities, right? We're experiencing the same thing, totally different ways.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
yeah, it made me think about, I'm curious if you guys have had this. I think I've noticed this with all four of us. Just being in seasons of life of more intentional choice, like being more, what's the word? Not intentional, but picking and choosing more carefully, being more thoughtful. That's the word, I guess, about choices in life.
Or like deliberate.
Yeah, about choices. Because we're all kind of naming that with work. I know I've experienced it a lot with friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
I've got this tiny amount, it feels like at least, I've got this tiny amount of extra breathing room in life for, okay, what am I doing with that time?
Yeah.
And I used to just kind of do whatever presented itself. And I'm in the season of life of really trying to be thoughtful about, no, I'm going to choose who I want to spend that time with. Or I'm going to choose to spend more time with, this person instead of just waiting till it happens. Which has been kind of another, I don't know, hard's the wrong word. People worry about the word hard. I just mean it's like rigorous.
Rigorous.
It's like, it's actually.
That sounds way worse.
Well, what I mean is when I say it's hard, people worry like, oh, so you're not doing okay? I'm like,
I get what
no,
you're
I'm
saying.
doing great.
Yeah.
And it's super hard to do great.
Yeah.
I feel that.
It's like, it's tiring.
Yeah.
But I feel that's been true for you for sure, like the choices. I know we've talked about that a lot as well. And maybe why I go so deep on that topic is because that's like the heart of coaching. Everything we do is about helping people make intentional choices with their life.
So true.
And kind of the joke around hard is like, that's actually the crux of it. When you choose to start being intentional in your life, it gets really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It's
harder.
Because everything is reactive and it's easy to be reactive.
It really
it's
is.
hard to be intentional.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's like the hard part about coaching. And I was thinking about like the hard part about selling this product. You're like asking people to do really difficult tasks and pay for it.
Yeah, we say that a lot.
But it's true because it's like, well, no, it's much easier to just go with the flow this week and do nothing to change.
Oh, so
Making
much easier.
change is hard work and it's exhausting. And I think because we practice what we preach around here, I've been feeling it big time. Like, I feel like every part of my life is all these intentional choices and shifts.
That's why we need vacations.
Oh my gosh, please.
So that we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Where
also
you're making no choices.
I
This is
know.
why I like the all-inclusives these days.
he loves that.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense though, because you just don't want.
You don't even have to choose how much to tip.
No.
You don't even have to choose. That's what I kept realizing. I was like,
No.
even going out to eat, which I love, is a
know.
choice of what to pick on the menu because of the cost, how much to tip.
Yeah.
I don't even have to think about that.
Sounds very nice.
But yeah, the age-old example is Zuckerberg and
Wardrobe.
Steve Jobs with their wardrobe. Yeah. But that's why they did it.
Same thing.
Yeah, they have thousands of decisions every day that are high stakes. What if I don't have to choose what I wear in the
I
morning?
love it.
Yeah, I really want that still for me, but I'm way too fashionable for that.
Way too. You want to look like
hard when
Captain
you
Kirk
look that
sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. We just had a major inside joke on the podcast,
Yeah,
so that's okay.
That was not very nice of me.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, no, I'll just say that one time we were on a Zoom call and he looked just like Captain Kirk, and I
And I took it as a
messaged him.
compliment, and I wasn't going to tell the story.
He had a chair
obviously.
with the high back. He had the mustard colored shirt on.
Yeah, it was like a
and,
sweater.
and his hair, Captain Kirk had that little swoosh
I
right
could
there,
see
except
that.
you had a beard.
Yep.
And I was like giving Captain.
That is
And
very
even
helpful
I was
context
like
for the
kind of
joke.
like doing like this number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while you were talking about very important business things, we were chatting about.
That's good.
Little side chat.
Sundie never does that.
No. But I took it as a high compliment.